Welcome everybody to another episode of Class REDACTED, the show where we delve deep into the terrifying world of SCP and focus on the more unknown parts of this universe. I am your host Ritley, and after doing a pretty big episode with the last one, doing the Wanderer's Library and the Serpent's Hand, which as I'm recording this is currently uploading, time management is my specialty. We're doing a little bit of a smaller one this time. I originally had a different topic planned for the day, but time and me biting off more than I could chew with the double episode. It is sadly not gonna be the large topic, but I've still chosen a topic that I think is pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Of course, as always, I am not alone. I'm joined by my three wonderful guests yet again. Say hello, everybody.
Howdy.
There.
Hey. And yep, there's nothing else to say. I'm ready to have your minds destroyed because I've previously teased this episode as being the most confusing episode yet. It's not as bad, but it's pretty bad.
Fuck.
because today we are talking about Dr. Alto Clef and his
Clef.
fucking. What the fuck is he even? I don't know. We're gonna be explaining.
The other man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of the 14 or so.
If you're unaware, Dr. Clef is a very, very important character, just like Dr. Bright. He is of what I would consider the three big personalities in SCP. You have Bright, Gears, and Clef are the three big personalities. There's some other ones like Kondraki and Crow and stuff. We will all be getting to those as time passes. But right now, Clef is enough mindfuck for one day. So we'll just be focusing on him now. Alright, are you ready?
Yup.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go. So, who the fuck is Clef? A question that will proceed through the entirety of this episode, but I still want to ask it because... So, a little bit before we get into who Clef is, like who he as a character is, I'll throw some some quirks that he has, some features that make Clef Clef in the room, taking from his personnel file, which I will be saying right now. Firstly, his name is not actually Alto Clef, but as he himself says, and I quote, his actual name is the sound of an A major chord being played on a ukulele. That is the first sentence that is on his personnel file. You fucking go to this file, the first sentence is that. This probably paints a very good picture of what this entire episode will be like.
That's
Like,
how you
what
know it's
the
gonna be a
fuck?
mindfuck.
Yep, exactly,
Yep.
because Clef is a very weird man. But yeah, his name, sound of a fucking ukulele. I still can't take that seriously.
Oh yeah, his GLC name.
Yeah. He also carries one. He also carries a ukulele with him wherever he goes. If people want to address him by his real name.
Yeah, well, man has to introduce himself.
Exactly. His main anomalous property, not the ukulele thing, that's just weird. His main anomalous property is that his head is not able to be photographed. If you take a photograph of Clef, his head will be replaced with a random animal. So it'd be a bird, a snake, multiple snakes in that case, a dog, spider, whatever. Weird, random animal head. But of course, that only applies to photographs, so people can still describe what he looks like. People have described what he looks like, and he looks even more confusing than the animal head one. Because Clef, number one, he has a baller hat. Clef wears a fucking amazing hat. First of all, very important. His most important character trait is his hat. But of course, getting to his main features, he is mostly described as having a gigantic grin. Like for example, you can compare it to the grinning cat in Alice in Wonderland. You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is his grin, like this big ass anime grin that he has the entire
Smug
time.
bitch.
Exactly. Yes. It's often compared to the grin of a cat, which doesn't make sense, but you get it. Big fucking grin. Also, Clef has 3 eyes. Because of course he has.
the most
Uh,
surprising thing. Surprisingly.
Yes, his
Yeah.
hand, his third eye keeps moving all the time. Sometimes it's on his forehead, like a standard interpretation of a third eye. Sometimes it's below his right eye, like on his cheekbone. And sometimes he has just two normal eyes, but one eye has two pupils, which is, I think, the coolest rendition, but it's the one that's least done. And I will get a picture in so that you guys know what he looks like, what the fuck I'm describing here. That is him. That's the Smug Lord himself.
Oh wow.
He has 3 eyes, a big ass grin, and an awesome hat.
He looks like a Hawaiian on cocaine.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
at least something fat manlet.
It's mostly a bunch of memes. But Clef's pretty cool.
Hawaiian dead body.
Yeah. Also, his eyes also have another property where his pupils, light that goes into his pupils is completely absorbed. It works like a black hole, where light gets absorbed inside the black hole and nothing, like, it's no light, it's just like pure darkness. That is what his pupils are like also. It doesn't have the gravity thing, because no, but the light thing is there. The
So
gravity
he
thing
has-
would be scary.
He has Vanta black pupils.
Exactly, yes. He has Vanta black pupils.
That's
That is... I didn't... No, it's good. Wait, yeah. So, pretty dark pupils. Also, his most important character trait, he is a notorious liar. Clef is known to lie about anything and everything except his work. For his work, he's completely honest, but everything else, he can totally bullshit you with what he's saying. And he's pretty damn convincing too. So you don't know if he's actually, like, regardless of if he's telling the truth or making up some random story, you will always believe it. Because he has the poker face of a fucking god. This guy. Also, another weird, not weird thing, but a funny thing I wanted to mention. Clef has a thing for shotguns too.
Oh yes, my kind of
Clef
man.
Clef is a pretty big gun nut. That's another picture of him. He has his own personal shotgun collection in his office. He currently has, I think, 12 or 13 different shotgun variants, and also one that the wooden chassis is made from a ukulele.
Of course it is.
Of course.
He has a ukulele shotgun.
A
because
ukulele
it's
shotgun. Yeah.
Now we just need Dr. Gears' weapon. So Bright has a chainsaws.
Yeah, Brian's chainsaws.
Chainsaws.
Clever
Clef has
shotguns.
shotguns.
Gears, I don't know. Gears has probably something too. We'll get there when we cover Gears.
He will probably have something bullshit again.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Gears always does some weird shit. But yeah, it's pretty fucking weird. Okay, so now you know who the fucker is, or at least what like his physical appearance is. He's pretty fucking awesome. He looks pretty cool. He looks like a smug cowboy. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question that I've answered I've asked in the beginning: who the fuck is this guy? Why is he a researcher? Why does he keep shotguns? Why does he have 3 eyes? What the fuck? I can't explain fully because Clef's weird, but I can at least give you a pretty good picture of what Clef is. And yet again, we will be having, similar with Bright, a serious in-lore and a non-serious meme version of Clef, because those both exist. They exist for almost every single big character because it's very easy to meme on characters.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, just working at the foundation gives you a reason to have a shotgun collection.
Yeah.
It's fair, honestly.
I'm surprised he's not a shotgun collection. That he's a human. I'm just.
All right. So, who is Clef and what is his history? Clef originally wasn't part of the SCP Foundation. In fact, he was in his younger years an agent that got recruited for the GOC. He got recruited in 1989 under the codename Agent Ukulele. Very fitting for the guy.
Of course.
And he helped with the killing of an anomaly known as the Hillsborough Beast. Not important right now, big fucking anomalous creature. But not important. What it is, he killed the thing and received a commendation for it, making him a very high-ranking agent in the GOC. He kept working for them for some years, up until 1986, when he was tasked to eradicate an anomalous disease known as, and I quote, xenobiological hemorrhagic cryon. Alien disease. Nothing important. Don't worry about it. Big names, not important.
Understandable.
He failed and got a redacted amount of people, but presumably thousands of people, killed in that raid. And so from that day on, where the GOC were kinda about him. They were like monitoring him and watching him because he failed once before and is acting weird in general, so why not keep an eye on him? This all culminated in the 1990s when he was the lead of an infantry squad during a raid in Cornwall, a place in England, where he was tasked with killing two anomalies, codenamed the Goddess and the Daughter. He successfully killed the Goddess, but was unable to kill the Daughter. And so the GOC was even more upset at him for not being able to complete the mission for a second time now. Even though the GOC and Clef didn't really get along, he kept working for them for some time, up until the early 2000s, when he scored his 99th confirmed kill on an anomaly, and a few days later asked to retire from the GOC. The GOC, of course, wanting Clef gone for a while to begin with, said yes immediately. After Clef retired, he disappeared from sight, from public view for a number of years, until he resurfaced as a member of the SCP Foundation, now working for them under the alias Dr. Alto Clef. And that's where he is now. This answered like 2 questions and brought up 50 more, I know. But
yeah, that's normal for Clef and the SCP Foundation in general.
Definitely, yeah. But let's dial it back a little bit and talk about the Goddess and the Daughter thing, because that's really important. So, the Goddess, who the fuck is that? And now, of course, during the Cornwall raid, he was tasked to kill this Goddess. And the name is very on the nose. It is a nature god who, together with her followers, was trying to complete a ritual which would transport humanity back to a pre-industrial state. So it would basically fuck with machinery so that machines stopped working and that humanity was now not had no machines left, basically. AKA the church's worst nightmare, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, GOC was like, no, die. And Clef was successful in killing the Goddess, like I said previously, but instead of him, quote-unquote, not being able to kill the Daughter, he could. He stood over her with his weapon, ready to put a bullet between her eyes, but he instead hesitated, and instead brought the girl to a convent in a very isolated location, where he hopes that the Daughter could grow up without ever knowing what happened to her mother. This plan was very successful until the Daughter involuntarily discovered her godlike powers and resulted in killing a GOC operative, where then the GOC became aware of her location and basically marked her for execution. That was basically what the GOC did. Clef, of course, took note of this, and he did what I explained before. He yoinked the Daughter away, brought her to the only safe place where anomalies could be, which is the SCP Foundation, and then later worked for them as well, all to protect the Daughter. This story is cool and all, but what's the plot twist? I will give you the answer right now. The Daughter that we're referring to is his own.
Yeah, I thought so.
So, the fucking Giga Chad that Clef is, the fucking based and red-pilled man that he is, walked through the forest one day, saw this nature goddess, romanced her, banged her, and had a kid with her. This man is a king. A king.
In awe at that lad.
A king, I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
This man radiates chat energy.
He
Exactly.
literally
Yeah.
fucked nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how fucking cool can you be to do that one?
Literally fucked nature.
He's every oil company's fucking patron god. He literally fucks nature.
This is great. Okay, so daughter is his own. That also explains why he worked for the SCP Foundation, because he wanted to be closer to his daughter, and he only could do it by basically dropping his GOC alias and working under a new one under the SCP Foundation. So, who is this daughter character that I've been talking about? Of course, she is Clef's daughter. Duh. But because the daughter is now in the SCP Foundation, she of course is an SCP. And we've talked about her last episode. It is SCP-166, the Teenage Succubus.
Wait, really?
Yes!
Yeah.
The Succubus is Clef's daughter. We've memed last episode about the Succubus, but what it actually is the Succubus is a currently redacted year-old girl, but she's a teenager, of course. With her anomalous property being that whenever a male human observes her, they immediately want to engage in sexual contact with the girl. This often reaches such a level that it develops into an obsession with the SCP, only being stoppable via killing the person obsessed. So it's the final form of simping.
The
Basically.
stands.
Yeah, it's the final form of simping.
Oh.
So, these are the anomalous properties. She also has some other anomalous properties. For example, she is not able to wear clothes, because whenever she puts clothes on, her skin gets burned, and she gets like sores everywhere. I got a picture of the Succubus in one that isn't too
NSFW.
That is it. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's her long fucking blonde hair.
Ah, yes.
The
animal logic. If you can't draw body parts, cover it with hair.
Exactly,
Of course.
yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, what was the thing? Oh yeah, the anomalous properties. So can't wear clothing because burning. She requires almost no food. You do not need to feed her. She just lives on her own. She doesn't require sustenance. And also, she's very heavily affected by airborne particles. So smoke or dust or anything that's like airborne, like small particles. She's very, very affected by that and like coughs very, very heavily when she inhales them.
Like basically, she has a lot of allergies.
That's 166. I've said before that 166, of course, got Clef brought her to a convent where nuns watched over her in order to, shield her from the reality of her mother being dead and all, and basically her father fucking no-scoping her mother. It's pretty shitty, so he wants to not let her know about all that. This convent life, of course, being around a bunch of nuns, made 166 very deeply religious. She's very Catholic, and this combined with her anomalous properties makes her mental. It makes her mental, like her mentality and her mental health pretty fucked, because all the if Catholic belief of sexuality and shit, it's pretty horrible for like a 16-year-old girl, which she is.
Yeah.
So yeah, also a little fun thing, the nuns described Clef, who brought her there, as a man with indistinguishable features, which is very... I like that description of Clef. It's very, very fitting, because the guy has shifting eyes, like what the fuck.
Fair.
This all worked out perfectly well. She was chilling with the nuns, she was having a good life as an orphan, but a good life. But one day, she got forcefully removed by the convent when a GOC operative found the site, broke into it, and after observing 166, of course, was obsessive with her. The nuns tried to protect her, and it was a very bloody battle with one nun being killed and several being injured before the GOC member could be killed via 166. I think not via 166, but by one of the nuns. One of the nuns, I think, shot the guy or whatever, I don't know.
Oh god.
Freaking Sisters of Battle.
Nah, they would burn him alive. Then she was removed. She was removed from the convent, allegedly by a female SCP operative. But come on, I'm not believing that one. Clef did it.
It's Clef.
Clef fucking did
Well,
it.
yeah.
Clef fucking did it. Clef took the girl. At the end of the 166 article, that's basically his daughter. His daughter is very weird, and the dynamic between him and his daughter is actually pretty sweet. There's a lot of tales where Clef like meets his daughter and talks with her a lot about the talks about their past, etc., etc. It's very, very sweet. Also, the name of SCP-166 is Epon. That is the actual name of what his daughter is. His Epon.
Yeah.
At the end of the 166 article, there is a note linking from Clef wishing his daughter a very happy 16th birthday, and also there is another note attached to there's a link in that note which leads to a very important document that we will be going to cover later, because that's where we get most of Clef's information. So another thing I need to cover before we go to that note, that document, is his interactions with SCP-239. SCP-239 is basically a witch girl. She is a young girl. Yeah, the witch child. SCP-239 is a young girl who has like shining eyes, almost like stars are in her eyes, basically. And she has the ability to do everything she wants to do, she can. Translating this, 239 is a very strong reality bender, like almost highest caliber. I think that's type greens. That's like the highest amount of reality benders there are. They can affect everything. They can change reality on will, on their will. Also, a little side story. There is a great article on the wiki where Clef gives a seminar on reality benders to a bunch of new SCP researchers.
I remember that.
I'm not going to be covering it here. Read it yourself. It's fucking amazing. It's super humorous and funny, and shows the meme side of Clef because he likes to fuck with people. So he is very big into reality benders. Why, we get later to that. The thing with 239 is that while she's a very good reality bender, she can only affect things that she can see. So she cannot like think of something and make it happen. She has to actually perceive something, and then she can change reality accordingly. But she is still incredibly dangerous to him, to the entire world, because high reality bender. And the only reason why 239 has not completely destroyed everything yet is because she's like an 11-year-old girl and she doesn't understand what her powers are. And so she basically, how small children like play pretend and imagine things, and like in the mind of a child it's always like an adventure and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of that concept, but like everything that this child thinks of is actually going to happen in real life.
Oh god.
Damn.
That's basically 239 and how it works. It's pretty terrifying when with hindsight. For her it's like a fucking party, but for us, Jesus Christ. But because she's so dangerous, Clef submitted a termination request to the O5 Council with his request to kill SCP-239. Why exactly him? Because Clef is weird. Like, not weird in the sense that he has weird facial features and shit, but he himself actually is sort of kind of an anomaly. He's not like Bright where he interacts with an SCP to become anomalous. He is kind of sort of an SCP because Clef is something called a reality anchor. He calls himself that, but it's weird. It's basically like this. Clef cannot be influenced by anomalous properties. he is immune to anomalies and cannot interact with them. So, for example, there's a great tale where Dr. Clef goes into SCP-682's chamber, and they just look at each other. And 682 is just sitting there staring at Clef, not knowing what to do, because he's not human, and SCP-682 only hates humanity and wants to kill all of humanity. But Clef is different. It's a great tale. The tale goes like Clef enters chamber. 682 is fucking paralyzed, not knowing what to do. They even opened the fucking containment chambers, the containment doors, so that 682 could technically just walk out and kill the entire site. But it didn't. It just stood there looking at Clef in horror, because he had no idea what the fuck this man is who is standing in front of him.
Overwhelmed by his Chad energy.
Exactly, yes. The biggest fucking Chad. He was too scary.
Clef is just built different. That's it.
He's just built different. Man. He's just built different.
My man's so Chad, he said to reality benders, no.
No, thank you.
No, he cannot be influenced by anomalies, but he also can't interact with anomalies normally. The only 3 anomalies he has been able to interact with is a random anomalous reality bender girl who's never mentioned, his daughter 166, and 239, who he called Sigaros. I think is the name of 239. Is Sigaros, Sigoros. So that's the deal with Clef. And this is when we get back to the suicide note, or to the document, because, like I said right now, it's a suicide note. Clef is gonna kill himself because he has no idea basically what to do. He can't interact with anomalies. He cannot be photographed. He's not even sure if he is able to even die, because he has been around for a very, very long time, and is not really sure what the hell is happening with him. The note states that Clef thinks to himself that he is immortal. He's not quite sure himself, but he asks himself often if he can even die, or if there's even such a thing as death for him. Clef also says some other anomalous things about himself, like that he's a reality anchor, not a reality bender, which is... I don't believe it, because... Remember, Clef is a fucking liar. This could all be a lie, for all we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clef is a fucking dickhead.
I like to think that he's a reality bender, but he just reality bends the reality bending.
Oh, yeah, right. Could be. We don't know.
That's my idea.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty good interpretation. Yeah, but like I said, we don't know for certain. But yeah, so Clef said multiple times that he doesn't know if he even can die. What is even the point in working for an anomalous, for a group based on anomalies, if he can't even interact with anomalies himself? His description of him being a reality anchor also is very, very weird. He says that he can't see things from quote-unquote outside, so that he only can perceive things inside our universe. And also things outside of our universe he can't see, and they also can't see him. So he's like a ghost for them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Clef also can't use any anomalous machines. For example, he is not able to use SCP-914, the machine where you can grind things, or the coffee machine. He can't use those. And he also can't travel to alternate universe. He tried before, he yoinked himself in the library somehow and tried to walk through another universe, but he just popped out back at his original universe, so he's not able to change universes. It's also pretty weird that he also seems, this might be a total meme, but Clef also seems that he is only really able to interact with female individuals. That's just because maybe it's because he's a fucking Chad.
Nah, he's just horny. And that's it.
Yeah.
He's just horny on main, man.
Yeah, that's not an anomalous property. He's just more horny.
I mean, he can't talk to male dudes, but his interactions are like hand gestures and saying hi once and then going. It might be a meme. It might be not true at all, because it's Clef we're talking about here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This brings us to the final part of the suicide note, which is the most cryptic of everything. Clef states that he thinks of himself as a personification of the devil, and that he is scared of SCP-239 because she, so far, has been the only person who has been able to affect him. There is an incident log called Incident 239-B. This entry, read it for yourself, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, this is logic thrown outside the window. and just, what the fuck is even happening? A little excerpt from the incident to get what I mean. At one point, Clef approaches SCP-239, and then Dr. Gears like blocks his path and tells 239 to fucking fire a magic missile at Clef. Because what the fuck? Also, there's a part where another doctor kills the dragon with Excalibur. That is not actually happening in the incident. Excalibur is its own SCP-572, where it's basically Excalibur. Read it for yourself. Sure. Read it for. It's a great read. Read it for yourself. We will maybe be coming back to that later because it also features Bright, Crow, Gears, and Kondraki. Kondraki especially is a great character. We might do him soon because I love Kondraki. But regardless, the incident ends. The important thing is that the incident ends with Clef stating that he is in fact the devil himself, and that SCP-239 is a descendant of God. And then he runs away. He just fucking yeets it, he bolts it, he just goes. So Clef often says that he is Satan or the devil, which is weird, and also that 239 is kind of God, even though there is already the like fucking Foundation has God as an SCP.
Yeah.
They have the actual Abrahamic God as an SCP. It's a stupid one. We might be covering that one soon. It's mostly memed on our community because of how ridiculous it is. Like, how the fuck do you contain a god of a religion? Like what the fuck? How do you do it? But
you don't.
You don't.
The Foundation did it.
He just contains himself.
Yeah, he contains himself.
You believe really hard that he's contained.
That's probably it, yeah. So, back to the suicide note. Like I said, Clef often has thinks of himself as the devil, and SCP-239 as God, and he wants to keep opposing her because she is currently the only anomaly who can affect him in some way, which kind of fits because they're both like, if they're like God and the devil, it kind of fits with their relationship. He also said that 239 has quote unquote something terrible planned for the world, and that she's just playing with all of us. Again, Clef is a liar. If that's true or not, we don't know. But he says it in a suicide note, and you would expect that for a fucking suicide note, he would be serious for one moment. Later, he also stated... Nah, I also don't think so. Later, he also said that SCP-239, at the time of writing this note, has actually been killed. Because he has injected her with basically... he basically injected her with anomalous cyanide, is what he did. To finally kill her. The Foundation has not found out yet, but they will find out sooner rather than later. So, why not kill himself before? Is basically his reasoning for making the suicide note. After the Foundation found that note and checked in Clef's office, they found lots of blood and brain mass on his table with a gun, with a shotgun next to it. But Clef's body was nowhere to be found. Where Clef is right now, we have no idea. That is Clef's story. I know, what the fuck? Like, it's just weird jargon that bouncing back and forth. I know it's pretty confusing.
Yeah.
So let's dial back a little bit and try to piece together what Clef could possibly be.
Chad?
First and foremost, he is a fucking Chad, but what he actually is.
The Antichrist?
Maybe. It's often implied, of course, that Clef could actually be Satan. because of his connections to religion, because his daughter his daughter has a big religious tie-in. SCP-239 he keeps referring to as God. He has a history of killing gods, so it makes sense kind of that he could actually be Satan. Or that he's at least somewhat related to hell or the devil himself. We don't know for sure yet.
Satan.
Also, it kind of fits because when he before he killed the goddess back in his GOC days, the goddess was referring to that pre-industrial states that she wanted to put humanity in as Eden. And if you know the Adam and Eve story of Garden Eden and the snake, you might know where this is going, and you might know Clef's role in that story when you interpret it like that.
You're implying that Clef was the snake in the Adam and Eve story?
Not the snake, but Adam, because Adam made the mistake, and he locked humanity out of the Garden Eden, and Clef did something similar via his actions of killing the goddess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That could be another interpretation. So either he is the devil, or related to the devil via the Adam and Eve story and things. This was, nothing like that has of course ever been confirmed because it's Clef, and Clef lies about everything he is, so we don't know for certain. But as time passed, because originally that was where we stood, that was where Clef's story ended. But as SCPs came out, some of them shed more light on Clef and who he actually was. One of the biggest revelations came in a recent 001 proposal, which is Rounderhouse's proposal, Memento Mori. A very good proposal. We might be doing a whole episode on just that one, because it's basically the proposal that covers who the O5 Council, the administrator, is. When we talk about that group, the O5 and the administrator, like the starting of the foundation, we might also cover Memento Mori because it's a pretty huge deal. Very good read. Yeah. All of you out there who haven't read it, go read it right now. It's very awesome. It won the Roundhouse proposal also won the award for best 5000 for best SCP last year.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Damn.
Roundhouse proposal was the best SCP article released last year.
Well, now I gotta read it then.
Yeah, it's a very, very good read. All of you listeners right now, go read it. It's very, very good. And Roundhouse's proposal claims that because it basically has like a small card for every single O5 member except O513 because it's O513. But O512 was the proposal claims that O512 is or was Dr. Clef because at the end of the spoilers at the end of the proposal, the administrator goes through a grave of all the 13 of the original O5 Council, and on the headstone for O512 stands, quote, "Here lies Alto Clef, rot in hell." Again, the Satan symbology and shit. So this also kind of solidifies now, even that. So it's like that's the main theory that Clef is either the devil or an advocate of the devil, like a messenger for the devil, and that he is fucking with stuff because the devil also has a notion for lying and breaking deals and stuff. So it's pretty good. So
asking people to guess his name.
Yeah, that's just some interpretations of who Clef could possibly be. Like I said, it's SCP. It's open to interpretation what you think Clef is. If you just think he's a depressed researcher who can't interact with anomalies, or that he's the devil incarnate, it's all up to you to believe what he is and what he's not. This also because other SCP articles also point Clef out as a just normal researcher. Which is very believable because Clef doesn't, even though he lies a lot, he doesn't lie about his work. He is very honest about his work, and he never lies in SCP articles. He always says the truth. Everything else is totally up to him. So this could very well be that Clef is just like a normal researcher when he works there, like a normal random, like focused on reality benders, But when he's not at work, he's like fucking with things the entire time because he's like devil's advocate and shit. And that is basically Clef. That's basically who he is. He is a very interesting character, a character that's very open to interpretation. He's not as cut and dry as Bright was, but he's a little bit more loose and out there. But he is still a very, very cool character, and I very, very much like him. Also, he has good memes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he's not nearly as sad as Bright was.
Oh no. Clef is. I mean, Clef is just. There are some Clef like memes that say, oh, let's say like, he's depressed, blah blah blah. He's a downer the entire time, blah blah blah. Which is not entire but that's old. That's old news. Clef right now in SCP is like, he's like a trickster. He fucks with things because he likes to fuck with things. Yeah, he plays pranks on researchers the entire time. He randomly fires his staff because he feels like it. And there's also a great tale, which is one of the funniest tales in the entire wiki, where he goes on a date with SCP-682.
Oh.
Just because you feel like...
It was just because he can, because SCP-682 can't do anything because when he's in his presence, because he's scared of it's scared of him. In the tale, he fucking puts like a hat and a dress on 682 and like has it like pour with a glass of wine. It's pretty fucking funny. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
God damn.
And that's basically who Clef is. We might come back to him when we talk about the other doctors, mainly Dr. Gears, because both they have a very interesting relationship between each other. Gears and Clef, that is. And also Bright sometimes shows up, because Bright always shows up because
it's everywhere.
He's Bright.
Of course. He's the important character. He's the memeable. He's the meme man of SCP.
If you think of SCP scientist, he's the first one you think of.
If you ask someone who's new
He's
to
just
SCP,
like
if you ask someone who's new to SCP, what are the big doctors you can think of? The first answer is Bright, second answer is probably Gears, and third answer is Clef.
Gears or Clef are like interchangeable, I think.
Yeah. Gears is some will say some real OGs will also say Dr. Cimmerian, because Cimmerian has been out there for a very long time. He's also a YouTuber, but his in-lore character Dr. Cimmerian is very also very important to some SCPs. Not all of them, but very important. And some of the OGs might say Cimmerian first. But yeah, I have nothing else to say. That is basically Clef. What do you think of the man?
Fucking Chad.
Yeah.
He's a pretty large Chad. And of course, this is only scratching the surface of what Clef is. There are millions of tales, all covering Clef's various states of seriousness in the Foundation. Most of them are very outdated and very ridiculous, because back then when Clef was a big deal, SCP writing was a lot more inspired by Warhammer, like the really stupid, over-the-top, ridiculous shit, which is now lost in favor of more weird and creepy stuff. And
thankfully,
technically more like they are more serious now, but not entirely.
Yeah.
Well, there are more. They are a bit more serious, but when you find the funny stuff in between the seriousness, then it hits harder. The funny stuff, it's harder.
Yeah. Of course. That's
exactly.
Of course. There are a lot more serious SCPs, especially the later series, and some of them are insanely well made. Like for example, SCP-4666, the Yule Man, is in my opinion, one of the best written articles on the entire wiki. It's really fucking disturbing. And then,
it's absolutely disturbing.
Yeah, and then but in the same series, in the same like 100 batches, is a fucking stupid SCP reel that like keeps from the fucking Gamers Against Weed, the same fucking series. And exactly like Ben said, when you find the funny stuff, it just hits so much harder. And then of course you have the joke SCPs, the joke articles, which you might do a whole episode on, because
joke articles are great.
The joke articles are fucking great. They are fucking awesome. But that's for a later date.
Yeah.
All right. that's basically it. Next week, as I'm probably saying, next episode we're probably gonna be doing the big one that I've planned, which I'm not spoiling right now because that should be a secret, but it's gonna be really cool. So that's basically it. Thank you all so much for listening. Definitely also check the description this time because I will leave some articles in the description that I mentioned in this episode, so that you can read up on Clef yourself. That you can read up on Clef yourself, because he is very open to interpretation, and I don't want like that my word is gospel here. I'm just trying to basically show you, hey, look at this cool thing, and then you say, oh, that's a cool thing. That's my entire job here, basically.
Yeah.
So, thank you all again so much for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.